Welcome back to the BSD YouTube channel. As always, your host, Patrick Hurler, here with Tim. We just saw Penn State win against Purdue, 49-10. Tim, it's not a competition, but I did predict Penn State 49-14, so pretty close. Once again, not a competition, so don't even have to ask what your score was, but mine was pretty close, just saying.
I said 42-7, so if they hadn't gotten that garbage time touchdown, I would have been closer. But
it's not a competition, though. Just remember that. Even though my score was,
it is a competition in my head, Pat.
Okay, well, since you said it. So yeah, main takeaways from that game. I mean, we can start in a bunch of different directions. Obviously, when you had a blowout like that, you know, how much can you take away from that game? But I think we have to start with Tyler Warren, who was just magnificent on the day. Tim, your thoughts on Tyler Warren, who once again showed that you know, he's the and maybe much more than just tight end.
Yeah, he should be in the Heisman discussion. And I don't care if you call me biased for saying that. I think he really should. I mean, he's Mr. Do everything for the offense, you know, whether it's being a traditional tight end as a blocker, a receiver, or going under center and running 48 yards for a touchdown, or, you know, even on rare occasions where he throws the ball. I don't think he did it today, but you know, former high school quarterback, never counts such a thing out. But, you know, once again, he just did everything. And if you see the stat line going down there, just, you know, 3 carries, 63 yards, and a touchdown, including that 48-yard scamper to open the second half, and 8 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown on top of that. So you do the math. He accounted for 190 total yards of offense for Penn State, and I believe – just pulling up the stats here. So Penn State had, 539 yards of total offense, but, you know, for, you know, just rough estimate without having a calculator on hand, you know, we're talking probably at least 35% of Penn State's offensive output was through Tyler Warren alone. I mean, that's pretty darn good if you ask me.
Definitely. Sorry, I just muted myself for a second because I was typing. But I mean, I don't know if it's probably too late in the ball game to be able to do this, but it'd really be nice if Tyler Warren could get a Heisman invite just to New York City. I was just looking at, you know, the odds for the Heisman and kind of who's up for it. I think, you know, far and away, Travis Hunter feels like that I won't say it feels like he's going to win it, because I feel like we usually do this where whoever is in the lead in the, you know, first week, second week of November, we just assume is going to win it. But it does feel like with the way that Colorado is playing and just, you know, all the hype that Hunter has around him, and, you know, him being a really good player, it feels like he's going to win it. But after that, I mean, Dylan Gabriel, you know, good quarterback for Oregon. Curtis Rourke's in there. Obviously, Ashton Genty for Boise State, Cam Ward for Miami, although with their loss last week, that kind of hurts his odds. But yeah, Tyler Warren's not going to win the Heisman. I don't think that's even Penn State fan should really be able to argue that. It's just you know, a position.
No, it's not about winning. I just said he should be a candidate. Like he should get an invite to New York is what I meant. Like, yeah, I'm not naive enough to think he would win it, but
yeah, I'm just simply saying. I just feel like it's probably a little late in the year, and they generally try not to, you know, invite more than they necessarily need to. I know in past years, you know, you go back to 2002, last time that Penn State had someone at the Heisman ceremony, Larry Johnson. They had 5 people there. Generally, it seems like they try to keep it to, you know, 3, maybe 4. So we'll see. It'd be awesome, though. I mean, he is such a unique player. It's a shame that he was not utilized in the correct ways against Ohio State, because if he has, you know, that type of game, and I shouldn't say that type of game, because against a defense like Ohio State, he's not going to have the 17 catches he had against USC. He's not going to have like the all-around game that he had against Purdue. But, you know, a touchdown on the goal line to tie the game, the fourth quarter against Ohio State would have been pretty sweet for Tyler Warren. And you know, for that game, it was not so much about how Tyler Warren played, but just how Penn State was unable to, I think, game plan properly to get him the ball in especially specific situations. So missed opportunity there, but not to labor that point too much, because this should be a celebratory day, being that Penn State took care of business against Purdue. Where else do you want to go after Tyler Warren, who, yes, as always, I feel like we kind of repeat ourselves on here when we talk about Tyler Warren, but just a fantastic player and just crazy how good he is. But where else do you want to go?
Oh man, I mean, we could talk about how smooth Drew Hour looked. He was nearly perfect. 17 and 19, 247 yards, hat trick of touchdowns. I believe, I don't know about the second incompletion. I know the first incompletion was because Katron Allen dropped the ball.
Second one was a throwaway. Yeah.
The throw, okay. But those were his only 2 incompletions. I mean, it wasn't like he misfired on anybody or he was looking pretty smooth in the passing game. So, and just, he had a couple decent runs to, pick up yards or, the chains or make something out of nothing. So, another great afternoon from him. If you want to talk running backs, I mean, Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen.
Don't go too quickly. You got to give me a chance to get off my Drew points, Tim. Come on. You can't just jump into the running backs and let me perfuse my love for Drew. Come on, man. Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for 300 plus yards.
Well, the stage is yours then.
Yeah, I was hoping for 300 plus yards, hoping for, I think I said 3 touchdowns, so I guess I'm happy with that. But kind of similar to the Washington game, where it did seem like they were trying to push the ball down the field more, and that just kind of wasn't fully there for so many of those Drew plays. Like you said, we kind of saw him scrambling a little bit more. You saw him dumping off to Singleton and Katron, which is good. And right, it's him making the right play. It is frustrating when you look at the receptions and who was catching passes. And this is not only for the first unit, but the second unit, as the second half was, a lot of backups. Tyler Warren, Harrison Wallace, Luke Reynolds, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, Khalid Dinkins, and Omari Evans. So out of that is 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 players, only 2 wide receivers with catches, and they combined for 3 catches. So just a little frustrated on that front, just for Drew and for the offense. Was like we were talking about on our preview episode, wanted Drew to have a big game, but specifically wanted the receivers to have a big game. And the fact that we weren't able to fully do that is a little concerning against a team like Purdue. But I mean, I guess the wide receivers just kind of are what they are at this point, where it's Trey Wallace and there's really not much else on a consistent level. But overall, just a really nice day from Drew. Did what he needed to do, was super efficient, and was nice that he got those 3 touchdowns. So you want to talk about the running backs though?
Yeah, just on that point, receivers. I mean, boy. How badly does Anthony Ivy want that one play back where Bo Prabula just hit him right on the numbers and he couldn't haul it in for a touchdown? Of course, Bo did run it in for a touchdown himself, I believe, the very next play. So didn't matter, but still, when the perception is our receivers can't get open and struggle to catch, that certainly doesn't help with things. But
it's funny.
Yes, running back.
Hold on just 1 second on Anthony Ivy. Like 2 weeks ago, maybe it was even last week, I texted Clay Sortic, former BSD writer, asking Anthony Ivy really can't be as bad as Penn State's making him be. Like, how is he not able to, at least, I'm not saying become a starter, but it's how is it that Julian Fleming and Liam Clifford and these wide receivers that just aren't, producing on a mass level? Why is there not more of a rotation? Why are they getting all the snaps? Why is Anthony Ivy not playing more? And then you see a play like that, and it's okay. Not great. So just want to share that on Ivy, that sometimes when it comes to these backups, it's really easy to say, oh, the backups need to be playing more, but then you get them out there and they drop a wide open touchdown pass. So tough one.
Yeah. So just moving on to the running backs, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, they didn't necessarily light up a stat sheet, but they both made plays when, here and there. Like Singleton had a touchdown run and Katron Allen caught a touchdown on just a, streaked wide open because everyone was zeroed in on stopping Tyler Warren on a 3rd and goal situation. So just well played for Drew and Katron.
How did you
of course, the real star running game.
Sorry, how did you think Singleton looked from a health perspective? Just being that we weren't sure what his health. I mean, we knew that he was going to play in the game because he wasn't on the injury report, but just with him missing last week, and
to be honest, I thought there was it looked like he didn't look like he was slowed down. I mean, I thought to myself after one of his runs, like he might have. I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks one like 50 yards for a touchdown or something. Like that didn't happen, but I thought the potential was there. Like he didn't look like a guy who had lost his burst or something. I mean, it seemed like he has his burst back from.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of it's just Tyler Warren was just doing so much. It kind of didn't necessitate using Singleton too much today. But I could still see him breaking off a huge one, maybe in one of his last two games.
It would be nice.
And of course, he's always still a weapon in the passing game.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen, the running game really. I mean, yes, we had Tyler Warren and Bo Perillo today, and Corey Smith, and some of these backups, and like in Warren's cases, the direct snap. But as far as like Singleton and Allen go, longest rush today for Singleton was 10 yards, and longest rush for Allen was 11 yards. So kind of stymied as far as getting explosive plays rushing wise, but.
Like Corey Smith, though, I do like. I am liking him for the future. He's definitely got that natural speed, and he also feels like a home run hitter type. I mean, he almost did that last week against Washington, so nice to see him show out a bit again against Purdue. I know this is either garbage time reps, but still, it's good to see him showcasing what he could be capable of when he becomes a more regular part of the rotation, perhaps as soon as next year.
Gotcha. Just a heads up, Tim, and for people watching, you're a little laggy for me. I don't know if it's for everybody else, but just as a heads up, if we have some delays here, that is on purpose, trying to battle through that as we speak. But just to talk on Tim's point, as he's completely frozen on my end now, who knows what it looks like for everybody else. But to speak on Tim's point about Corey Smith, he is. It's fun to watch him after watching Singleton and Katron Allen. Not that obviously Singleton has 4.3 speed, but Singleton being a bigger guy, Katron being a bigger guy, and seeing someone like Corey Smith, who's probably more like the 190 pound area, 195, who just kind of has a little bit of quicker feet, quicker burst, especially the agility and stuff like that. More of like a scat back type has been fun to watch after watching those guys for it feels like 5 years. So crazy to think that Katron and Singleton have only been here 3 years, but we've just seen them so much. Tim, you're looking better on my end now, by the way. Just as a heads up for
that's good. You were kind of lagging a bit too on my screen, so I don't know. There's something wonky of our connection. We had this issue on Wednesday doing the preview show, so I don't know. It was blame StreamYard for this.
Yes, when in doubt, always just blame the technology. Definitely is on our fault. Anyway, anything else offensively? I mean, we'll give a shout out to the offensive line as always.
Of course, they'll get a good grade from me tomorrow in the position grades.
Yeah, I don't think Purdue had any sacks. Yeah, no sacks. They did had 7 tackles for loss, but so much of that, and you have to go back and rewatch the game and things like that. But just with the backups in, kind of hard to know when those tackles for loss happen off the top of my head. But all in all, I mean, clearly Penn State did not have much issue, moving the ball down the field, whether it was through the passing game, 305 yards passing between Drew and Bo, and then 234 yards rushing, obviously aided by Tyler Warren's 48-yard run, and then Bo's 49-yard run. How'd you feel about Bo Perillo getting like a full extended look of him beyond more than just the Bo Perillo package itself?
Well, I think it can only help because, as you saw, when they needed to call upon him to be the full-time guy against Wisconsin, he didn't have that deer in the headlights look, when it came to, throwing passes or, taking snaps under center. Just so always good when he can get, full quarters worth of, actually more than a quarter, probably quarter and a half's worth of reps as the main guy at quarterback. So that's the benefits of building up a large lead, by mid-third quarter. So he looked fine. Of course, obviously has, looked pretty good as a runner, breaking off that 49-yard touchdown run, and then threw a nice strike to Luke Reynolds in garbage time, perhaps the heir apparent to Tyler Warren starting next year. So all in all, good game from Bo, good game from Drew. Just the final score says it all, 49-10. It was all around, great win. Of course, we'll touch on the other side of the ball pretty soon, I'm sure. The defense,
before we get to
they definitely balled out.
Before we get to the defense, just want to talk about Bo just a little bit more. And I don't think we've actually, I don't know if we've talked about this. I know I've talked about this, in my personal life, but how do you feel about the Bo Perillo package? Not him as a quarterback, because I will say that I'm higher than him as a quarterback than like his little, like the package itself. Like, one, I don't like taking the ball out of Drew's hands. Like, I generally think he's a good quarterback. I want him to be making the decisions more often than not. And secondly, with Bo, I just don't know with how they use him in the package. And I was tweeting through the BSD account today. It's just weird that he's like a better thrower than given credit for, as we see, like when he comes into these games and, like you said, against Wisconsin and in the second half today, where he was doing more than just running the ball. But yet in the Bo Perillo package, it seems like that they only run the ball with him. Like they don't really utilize his arm. So what are your thoughts on the package itself? Because like I said, higher on him as a quarterback than like his little like niche package that Kotelnicki uses him for.
Yeah, I guess I have mixed feelings. Sometimes it feels like they throw it in there just to throw it in there. Maybe it's not exactly appropriate. Like maybe it
breaks the flow.
Offense is in a very good rhythm with Drew under center of the fold, and then just out of the blue they throw in the Bo package, and then maybe Bo just gets stopped for no gain or something, or just picks up a yard or two, and it kind of kills the vibes of the drive. It's just, so it's a timing sometimes that I don't like. I don't necessarily hate the package in and of itself, because I remember that touchdown pass to Tyler Warren, the Kendall Tool play, as they call it, for shout out to all you Peloton people. But the Kendall Tool play where, Warren snaps the ball to Bo throws a screen to Drew, then, chucks it deep to Warren.
Yeah.
That play, that was a Bo package, and that led to a touchdown that lit a spark. It helped spark the comeback win against USC. Sure. He had that. And he had a touchdown throw, I know, against West Virginia out of the Bo package. So I guess I can't say I hate it. Where it should be totally scrapped. It's just I have a problem with when they utilize it, more so that it's even a thing.
I just wish that they would throw more. And like you said, right, when we think of like the Bo
package, I do tend to agree. They should throw it a bit more out of the Bo package. It's usually like 95% of the time it feels like it's Bo run. So
no, that's what I mean, because right, you just, as you pointed out, right, when we think of the Bo package this year, like the two biggest plays or the two best plays, at least in my mind, that USD play, which it was a lateral, so it doesn't count as like a Bo throw, but right, utilizing his arm, and same thing in that West Virginia game where, and I understand that the reason why that West Virginia play works is because the defense is so keyed on him thinking that he's going to run, but I just don't know if he's like the level of runner in that sense. Like he's a good runner for a quarterback. I don't think he's like an overall good runner, especially when you have like, if you just want to have someone back there taking the snap that could either hand off to the running back or keep it themselves, like do a Nick Singleton K-Tron backfield, do the Tyler Warren, as we see, like that works so well. So I don't know, just a little frustrating in that sense. I almost compare it to like a baseball pitcher where a starting pitcher, they have a fastball, they have a changeup, they have a slider, they have a curveball, and maybe they don't throw like 98 miles per hour, but you have all these pitches and it becomes so much harder for the batter to hit you. But if you move him to the bullpen, all of a sudden having a 92 mile per hour fastball and just depending on that, you become so much easier to hit. So it's like with Bo, when you have him just back there and being able to throw the ball, being able to run the ball, being able to do all these different things, it's a little bit better than just having him run the ball, which is what they almost do exclusively with the Bo package. So I would just personally, I'm not saying like completely scrap it, but I would use it way less often. And when he does come in, I would just treat him more like a quarterback than just as a rusher, which it seems like they mostly do. So just want to talk about that a little bit with Bo. let's talk about the defense. Main takeaways from the defense that was, really dominant on the day, even with Purdue scoring 10 points. Not that 10 points is anything necessarily.
Yeah, they, well, the starters held Purdue to just a field goal. I mean, so that touchdown came in garbage time, which I did predict in our roundtable. My prediction was 42-7 Penn State. I thought those 7 points would come in garbage time against the backups, which sure enough, that happened. The other 3 points came against the starters, and that's because, once again, they held firm in the red zone. They got down into the 5-yard line, but couldn't score or couldn't get in the end zone, and were forced to kick a field goal. And, that was the closest they ever came to punching it in again. They did have a chance before halftime to tack on another field goal and make it 21-6, make it a 2-score game at halftime, but they missed that. And so any chances of them making things more interesting than necessary, went out the window with that. But defense held firm. Devin Mockabee their starting running back did pick up some decent chunks of yardage, but he didn't have to run wild either. They were able to get a lot of pressure early and often on Hudson Card, their quarterback. Surprisingly, no turnovers. They didn't get any turnovers. Actually, nobody got a turnover. It was a pretty clean game from both teams in that regard. But Hudson Card could never really get into much of a rhythm passing wise. And I think, we talk about Penn State's receivers. It's not like Purdue's receivers aren't any better. Just like they have their own little star tight end, Max Clare, who Card was favoring early and often.
He's a beast
when he had time to throw the ball. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Do you think he's starting?
Ryan Brown, the backup.
Do you think Clare is starting at Ohio State, LSU, Alabama? Where do you think he transfers to? Because unless Purdue just has like an NIL bag.
Yeah, I don't know. He's definitely not going to be a Boilermaker next year, assuming – I don't know what his eligibility is.
I think he's only a sophomore, I believe. Let me check. I'll check on
that. You're correct. Yeah, he's only a sophomore. So I'd be very shocked if he doesn't portal after this season, and I'm sure he's going to have plenty of suitors from programs that desperately need a tight end. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he stays in the Big Ten at Ohio State or maybe does Michigan need a tight end? Colston Loveland, I think, is going to the NFL. So maybe they go get him for some SEC program. So it would definitely won't be playing for Purdue next year. I agree on that front.
It just I'm not obviously like kind of joking on that, but yeah, just tough to see a guy that is that talented, but maybe he just really loves Purdue and he'll stick around there. But he was just a guy that stuck out really like across the board for Purdue as like, oh, he's just so much better than really everybody else on his team. Anyway, Penn State's defense. Abdul Carter, just another terrific day. 5 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Somehow did not get a sack. A lot of holding ish on him from Purdue's offensive tackles. I know. Twitter was going a little nuts about
most of which did not get called.
Yeah, none of those were getting called, but Carter has to be. I don't want to say that he has to like be better than like the holding calls themselves, but if you are that talented, like you are going to get held, and they're just not going to always call that holding on you. So, obviously he's been so good this entire season. With these 2 tackles for loss, I believe that means he's up to 18 tackles for loss on the year. So 8 sacks, 18 tackles for loss with 2 regular season games to go. Pretty good chance that he is the first 10 sack, 20 tackle for loss season at Penn State since when, Tim? Put you on the spot. Last player to have 10 sacks, 20 tackles for loss in the season. It's not too far back. That's why I don't feel too bad about asking you.
Okay, so I was going to say LeVar Arrington, but that's probably not. That's probably not
Franklin
that
era.
far back. Franklin era. Okay, Franklin era. 10 sacks. It's got to. I think it's got to be Chop Robinson.
This. I'm just going to start doing random trivia to you during random points in the podcast. Just put you on the spot. No, Carl Nassib. Remember Carl Nassib? That one breakout season?
Yeah, that was it. It was that He did that. Wow.
He had
Okay.
15 and a half sacks, which is, he was, just crazy dominant after, being a walk-on and barely playing in those years prior. But so it would be the first Penn Stater since then. And prior to that, I mean, not a whole lot. I think Reese Evans had a really weird, like, big year in like 2006. I feel like he might have done that. But we're going back to like the Arrington years and stuff like that, since a player has had 10 sacks and 20 tackles for loss. So Abdul Carter, that move to defensive end, really working out. I'm not patting myself on the back too much, but as the leader of that train to get him away from linebacker to defensive end is working out pretty well for Penn State. Other takeaways defensively, Tim. Did anybody else stick out to you as far as their play? Denied a sack and 2 tackles for loss. Izzer got in there for
You
a
took the
sack.
words out of my mouth.
Deny.
Was going to shout out Deny Dennis Sutton.
Yeah.
I'll say I kind of feel bad for Davian Collins. Probably going to get an interception right before halftime, but he and the Purdue receiver were both on ball. And I believe the rules are if it's tie up, they give the possession to the receiver. So that was unfortunate. But luckily it didn't lead to Purdue making a field goal because they've been pushed out of field goal range because of a holding penalty, and then looked like they were just gonna not even have a shot at a field goal before halftime, but then they got that deep pass. So but he had a good game though still. I mean, 4 tackles, was doing a pretty good job out there. Got a lot of run. I mean, he's definitely looking like a future starter out there. So good on him. But I mean, defense as a whole, linebackers, Kobe King, looked pretty good. I mean, Tony Rojas, surprisingly, Rojas didn't record a single tackle, but he was definitely active out there helping to, get pressure, just disrupt plays, keep plays from, keep gains from becoming like bigger ones. So
I feel like Rojas,
just a all around good game.
I feel like Rojas might be battling an injury because, this week, they rotated basically everywhere on the field, but specifically last week as well, he was way down in snaps. I think he only had like 24 snaps or something like that. And they were quick. Even in, I think it was like the 3rd drive of the game, they had gone in Tamir Robinson and Dakari Nelson, Tyrese Mills. So like some backup linebackers. So they were really making sure to keep the linebackers, fresh out there. But I think in Rojas's case in particular, I think he might be battling an injury, which is like you said, like why he didn't see a lot of time and apparently didn't record any stats either. So just wanted to point that out about Rojas. Anything else defensively? Just big picture stuff, even.
I mean, like I said, starters held him just a field goal. Again, the scoreboard says it all. 49-10. I mean,
Purdue is bad.
That's domination in both sides of the ball.
Yeah. My main takeaway, we once again talked about in the preview, but Penn State is about coming in, taking care of business, not looking ahead to the Minnesota Maryland game or looking ahead really to the playoff.
Mentality seemed to carry through. So
and I think we saw
that's really what today was.
Yeah. No, it's good just to see them come out and we have talked about how this Penn State team kind of has a knack for playing with its food a little bit and not getting off to quick starts, and saw the opposite today, right? 14-0 right away. Looked like man amongst boys out there. So just really good stuff from Penn State, and once again shows like the health of the program, that Penn State is a ho-hum 9-1. Like once again, I shouldn't say it was like super easy, because you go back to that USC game and it goes to overtime, and you even look at the Wisconsin game, the Bowling Green games are obviously have been some scares, but just a team that's taking care of business and I feel like is starting to play their best football at the right time. I'm not going to talk myself in like the Ohio State game, like being the flip the switch game, but I do think that there is like some sense of, you play a team like that, you learn a lot about yourself as players, and your mindset and your mentality, but also where your weaknesses as a team. And just a credit to the coaching staff and the players for, after losing that Ohio State game, coming out and playing their best game of the season against Washington. And then, I think there's an argument to be made that this Purdue game, granted, Purdue's very bad, but there's an argument to be made that this was one of Penn State's better, complete games. So shout out to them for taking care of business. But man, Purdue
absolutely,
it's bad.
Yep. Now it's on to Minnesota next weekend, which I've said is their toughest remaining game after Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about Minnesota when we get to the preview this Wednesday or Thursday. We're still trying to figure out our schedule this week, but so I'll save my Minnesota thoughts for then. But yeah, I mean, Penn State did what they need to do today. Got the backups in. Seems like everybody's mostly healthy. Elliott Washington, I know, didn't play he left the game early, went back to the locker room before halftime, and then didn't play in the second half, but that could just be precautionary. Shame to see true freshman Jalen Harvey, number 44. He was one of my guys from last year's recruiting class, had what sort of looked like a non-contact knee injury. So you just hope that hyperextension was just like a really bad knee sprain or something along those lines. Certainly don't help that it's an ACL, but other than that, seems like Penn State is getting healthy at the right time, especially with some of the premier players. We talked about the Niden Sun before, playing more snaps today than he had the last couple weeks, and the aforementioned Nick Singleton as well. So all in all, we'll see what these position grades from Tim look like on BlackShoeDiaries.com, but I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of A's across the board for Penn State after this one. So Tim, any other final thoughts?
Well, just they did what I hoped they would do. They came in, they jumped on them early, didn't really give them or the crowd any hope that they could hang around for a while and put themselves in striking distance for an upset. I gotta say, shout out to the Purdue crowd. I mean, that stadium was pretty full. And I'm not just talking about Penn State fans, man, but they had a good number of Purdue fans there for being 1-8 and with no postseason hopes left. It's still a good amount of support they were showing for their team. I don't know what's going to happen to Ryan Walters. He may very well get canned at the end of the year. I mean, if they finish 1-11, he just looks like a guy who's in over his head. I think I remember actually when Penn State stopped him on 3rd and goal. It was 14-0, and instead of going, they trot out the field goal unit just to get points. You could clearly hear on the broadcast that students chanting "Fire Walters." So
heard a lot of boos too. Yeah,
a lot of boos, "Fire Walters." So not a good sign. Well, really more so just the fact they're probably going to finish 1-11 on the year, and I know it's only year 2, but if things aren't getting better, if you're not showing any signs that you're going to turn around the following year. I mean, I think in this era, especially at the portal, I think coaches like him are going to get the hook much quicker than they otherwise would. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Purdue with a new head coach this offseason.
No, I agree with you. And there was always going to be a step back after Jeff Brom, with just the level of coach that
this
he
is too big of a step back.
It
shouldn't be stepping back this much.
Well, that's the crazy thing, right? You think about 2 years ago, Penn State goes into Purdue, and it was a neck-and-neck game, a game that Penn State was trailing, needed that game-winning drive from Sean Clifford hitting Kevon Lee in the in the flats or the wheel route or whatever it was, the dump off pass. Just crazy. The 2 ways that these programs have been going. Penn State still trending upward, or at least compared to then, with Penn State back then was coming off the 2020 and 2021 seasons where wasn't exactly our finest moments. So Purdue, on the other hand, rebuilding and still resetting. And it doesn't seem like Ryan Walters is going to be the answer there. But that's a discussion for another time. Once again, we will be back later this week for the Minnesota preview. We're still figuring out scheduling on that, if we're going to release that on Wednesday or if we're going to do that Thursday. So we'll obviously update that on the blog. If you're watching this, make sure that you are subscribed. Once again, checking out our subscriptions.
Yeah.
Did I say that I was going to do this one shirtless, Tim, by the way? When did I say I was going to do one shirtless?
I think you
did I promise that? I keep promising.
I thought it. Well, next week.
Maybe next week. We'll see. Minnesota feels. You know what? I did promise that I would do it. I keep forgetting. All right, we're at 130 for subscribers. Here's the deal. Once we hit 150, doesn't matter what the episode is, whether it's a preview, whether it's a recap. I will do it shirtless. So let's get up to 150 subscribers. Last time we talked to you guys, I said that like 85% of the people, or 95%, I don't remember what the number is off the top of my head, people that watch these things are not subscribed. Last time I yelled at you guys, now Tim's going to yell at you guys. Tim, yell at the people who are watching this but aren't subscribing to subscribe. Go ahead.
Guys, you're tuning in. I'm sure if you're still watching, you must enjoy something that we're saying on here. So please do us a favor, subscribe. We're trying to grow this channel, and we plan on talking more than just football. In fact, now that we're in the start of basketball and wrestling and
basketball school
hockey season, basketball school. I mean, I was at the game last night, beating down Virginia Tech, but we will definitely try to do some other Penn State sports shows that aren't football related. Now that football is going to be, is getting down into postseason mode shortly. So, so please subscribe. We'll try to cover, all season round.
Yes, definitely. Make sure you're also liking the videos too. If you give a little thumbs up in the bottom, that also helps as well. I said that we'll be back for Minnesota, but I will live stream again for the playoff reaction so that we can all hopefully continue to laugh at the SEC teams being ranked lower than Penn State, because Tim, I struggle with math a little bit. I believe you're more of a math guy than me. If a team has 2 of something and another team has 1 of something, which one's higher, 2 or 1? I just want to clear something up.
Well, 2, or are you talking about wins or losses?
Well, in this case, let's say it's losses. What would you say is more? Is it 2 losses more or 1 loss is more?
Well, obviously, 2 losses is more. So
you say obviously, but a lot of SEC fans, Tim, can't seem to comprehend this. A lot of Georgia fans, a lot of Alabama fans,
yeah,
a lot of Ole Miss fans. They don't
let's
seem
be
to
fair, Pat.
What was that?
Well, Pat, what I wanted to add was Ohio State. If they were to, let's assume they and Oregon win out, they play in the Big Ten title game. Oregon beats them again. They would still finish ahead of Penn State, an 11-1 Penn State, just by virtue of having beaten Penn State head to head, and that second loss came in a conference title game, so they would be 1 spot ahead of us, and I wouldn't complain about that, frankly.
Absolutely.
That's understandable.
The game,
but yeah, these SEC teams with 2 losses, sorry guys, I'm sorry your conference is either too good or just no one is good enough to just rise above the rest, and so y'all just beat up on each other, and now you're in this situation.
See, Ohio State even with 2 losses would be above 1 loss Penn State, because we did something called played the game on the field. So we know that Ohio State is most of the time, if we play 10 times, Ohio State's probably the better team. We don't know that about Georgia playing Penn State. We don't know that about Alabama playing Penn State. We don't know that about Ole Miss playing Penn State. I might think Ole Miss is a better team than Penn State, but I don't have any proof, right? I don't have anything tangible to back that up. I can't just say theoretically Ole Miss would be, a 4-point favorite unless they should be ranked ahead. That's not how it works. We have these games, we play them. Ole Miss theoretically is a better team than Kentucky too. You know what happened, Tim? They lost. Ole Miss theoretically better than LSU. You know what happened, Tim? They lost. So let's not get into hypotheticals and theoreticals with the SEC, and let's just keep it simple and just remember 2 losses greater than 1 loss. And if you don't like that, my advice to Georgia and Alabama and all these teams, just win your games. That's what Penn State does. We just win the games. So don't yell at us. Hate the committee all you want, but we're just gonna keep winning. So, but yes, I will be back to react to the playoffs once again. Hopefully, we can still continue to laugh at the SEC, like I was saying. But we'll also be back later this week to preview Minnesota. Make sure that you're reading our stuff at blackshoediaries.com. Make sure you're subscribing here. Make sure you're liking the videos. Make sure you're just doing everything BSD approved. So thank you guys for watching, and we will be back later next week.